Rex just fed, but something's still bothering her. Could be the scent of the juvenile about. After a large feed, such as a cow, she tends to be lethargic, similar to how a python or croc will settle to digest. Not this time. I think she's panting. Could it be indigestion? Maybe that cow went down wrong? Something's definitely bothering her. You all right, big girl? She's finally settled. I'm going to leave her in here for the night, rather than have her become even more stressed and agitated if she joins the juvenile. She's in a semi-fetal position, which tells me she's in some sort of pain. I don't think it's gastrointestinal in nature. I expect Rex digestion is particularly strong, so I'm just watching for anything else. Perhaps the lethargy is finally taking effect after her meal. That's a bit too close, my friend. Though I doubt the Rex would care too much at this point. Hold on a moment. Oh, I see what's happening here. Compies are scavengers, but they're rather more useful than that. They perform a valuable service. Bits of meat become lodged between the teeth after feeding, in places where a Rex can't possibly get to. The compies pick away at those scraps, along with parasites and dead tissue around the gums. It's a simple symbiotic relationship. The compies get an easy meal, the Rex gets cleaner teeth and a reduced risk of infection. Rather like the oxpeckers I used to watch, riding buffalo in Africa. Everyone benefits. The Rex was bothered because she had something lodged in her gums, perhaps a bone fragment, and was causing her pain. Muldoon?
Muldoon, it's Daisy.
Connor! Connor!
He stopped screaming a couple of minutes ago.
On my word, lower the crate. Okay. Now slowly turn it to the left. And stop. Connor? God. Finally finished hosing the transport container out. Hose Daisy down too. What a disaster. One of the worst days I've experienced in animal management. I've seen men injured, I've seen men killed. Africa teaches you that much. But it never becomes routine. It never becomes easier. The transport container, there wasn't much left to investigate. I collected what was left of Connor, his work boot, a few scraps of his uniform, nothing more. The sight alone was enough to send the workmen back to the lodge. Several couldn't bear to remain. One of the fellows stopped to speak with me before he left, said Connor had been his closest friend on the island. He couldn't finish the sentence, simply broke down in tears. Packed his belongings and boarded the first helicopter this morning. People often think this profession is about tranquilizers, fences, and dangerous animals. The greatest burden is usually carried long after the incident is over. You learn every keeper by name, you have meals together, you celebrate birthdays. You become accustomed to seeing the same faces every morning. Then one day, one of those faces is gone, and you're expected to carry on as though nothing's happened. That's the part no one prepares you for. Working with dangerous animals demands more than physical courage. It asks something of your mind. Every loss stays with you. Every mistake replays itself. You begin wondering whether there was something you could have noticed, something you should have done differently. And that's a difficult thing to live with. And Daisy, even after all these years, I find this difficult to look at. Baryonyx are piscivores through and through, but seeing one consume a man... Her abdomen is enormously distended. I don't think I need to say what's inside, though the meal appears to have killed her. Large reptiles occasionally overestimate what they can safely swallow. Similar cases in pythons attempting to consume deer too large to digest efficiently. Crocodilians have likewise been found dead after taking prey beyond what their bodies could reasonably process. The digestive system simply reaches its limit. Combined with the stress of capture, transport, and her existing injuries, it's proven fatal. Which brings me to something else. Daisy arrived from Isla Sorna and immediately suffered a concussion. She was disoriented. For veterinary observation, we separated her from her three sisters. Looking back, I suspect several factors converged. Head trauma, isolation from family, unfamiliar environment, transport stress. None of these excuses what happened, but together, they help explain behavior that was entirely out of character for the species. The workmen still aren't certain exactly how Connor lost his footing and fell into the holding pen. One account has surfaced repeatedly, though. Apparently, there was a loud thud. They looked up and saw Connor fall from the roof of the transport crate into the enclosure below. Whether he slipped, lost his footing, or something else occurred, I don't have enough information at this point in time. But one thing is abundantly clear. Our transport procedures require immediate review. If a man can find himself inside one of these animals, then somewhere in our system, we've left a gap. And dangerous animals have a habit of finding gaps before we do. I've been documenting something rather unusual over the past few weeks. Small stone formations. 20 or so sharp stones pressed upright into the soil in rough circles. Some within the raptor enclosure, some outside it. I've photographed every one I've found. So far, a total of 5. Measured them, outlined them, marked their locations on a photograph I took from our helicopter over that corner of the enclosure. My first thought was that they were primitive nests. Birds construct nests in countless different ways. Some scrape shallow depressions into the earth, Others carry stones for drainage or support. Penguins steal pebbles from one another constantly during the breeding season. Even crocodilians clear and prepare nesting sites before laying eggs. And since these animals truly are descendants of ancient theropods, then perhaps some instinct has survived. Perhaps they were preparing nest sites, despite InGen's assurances that breeding is not possible. It seemed a reasonable explanation until I began watching more closely. Note that it's extremely difficult to see these so-called nests from surveillance cameras. I've had to rely on eyewitnessing the following findings. There are 3 raptors in this enclosure. I expected one individual to construct the nests, perhaps the big one, or perhaps whichever one happened to be approaching a breeding cycle. Instead, all 3 make them. Not together, not cooperatively. One begins a circle. Sometime later, another adds stones somewhere entirely different. There's no consistency. If this were reproductive behavior, I'd expect one female to claim a site and defend it. Instead, every animal appears equally interested. That was the first crack in my theory. The stone circles outside the enclosure are an even greater anomaly. Same size, same stones, same rough construction. Outside the fence. Well beyond where the raptors could possibly reach. That complicates things. Perhaps the raptors weren't inventing this behavior at all. Perhaps they were mimicking something they've seen. Monkeys are intelligent enough to manipulate objects and use tools. Certain birds arrange stones during courtship. Corvids in particular will investigate almost anything unusual. I spent 2 nights watching the surrounding forest using a trail cam mounted to the fence, looking for capuchin and howler monkeys, curassows, ground birds, anything that might be responsible. Nothing. No animal approached the circle. No animal built new ones. The only creatures I've actually witnessed placing stones in the ground are the raptors. So either they're copying behavior I haven't yet observed, or they are the original architects. My nesting theory continued to unravel. Upon close examination of one of the circles, I expected to find some sort of structure beneath the surface. A shallow depression, organic lining, leaves, twigs, anything suggesting preparation for eggs. Now, obviously the raptors cannot reproduce, but non-viable eggs are still completely possible. There was nothing, just stones. Each one forced vertically into the ground. No chamber, no bowl, no attempt whatsoever to create a place where an egg could safely rest. According to the prominent US paleontologist Alan Grant, it's believed that dromaeosaur nesting behavior closely resembled that of modern birds. An open ground nest about the size of the mother's body, which is actively guarded until the youngsters hatch. Whatever these circles are, they aren't designed to hold anything, nor allow an adult to sit comfortably and brood. Then I started to watch how the raptors behaved around the stones. Again, nothing fit. They don't guard them, no ceremony, no display, no interest. They simply ignore them. Occasionally one pauses, looks up, then simply ignores again. If I hadn't watched her place the stone myself, I'd swear the formation meant nothing to her. That leaves me with a problem. Every explanation I've come up with has failed. They're not nests, they're not territorial displays, they don't appear to be courtship offerings, they're not sleeping sites, and if another species is responsible, I've yet to find the culprit. Which means I'm forced to admit something I don't much enjoy admitting. I don't know what I'm looking at. Not yet anyway. But I've learned something after years working with dangerous animals. when an intelligent predator repeatedly performs a behavior that serves no obvious purpose. The fault usually isn't with the animal, it's with the observer. I'm asking the wrong question, and until I find the right one, I'll keep watching these girls very carefully. According to the reports from Site B, Violet and Rose are close because they came from the same batch, the second batch, and their bond is very evident here, which is great for the acclimatization process in a new environment. The first batch was comprised of our other two baryonyx. That batch produced 7 individuals. 5 perished soon after hatching. The remaining 2 understandably became very close. Here's the eldest of the group, Hyacinth. She's been in quite the depressed state since Daisy was separated from the group. Hyacinth tends to segregate herself from the other pair. I'm concerned about her because I'm yet to see her eat, which is a characteristic behavior when an animal is initially displaced. But I can't help but feel sorry for her. I feel sorry for most of the animals on this island. There aren't any parallels currently in captivity that could satisfactorily convey how displaced an animal from a completely different time could possibly feel here today. She knows exactly what the compies are here for, which is good. These little guys are utterly fearless, but I don't think she's going to find anything in there. Hyacinth hasn't eaten since she arrived, probably just detecting what's on Hyacinth's breath. Oh, God. Well, there's her first meal. All but complete. They've got the tour track planted in the ground and the territory sign up. This sector of the park is probably the furthest along. You could almost bring guests in, though I wouldn't advise it. Triceratops territory is currently comprised of the Triceratops, of course, the Styracosaurs, and the Euplocephalus. And this is their vehicle tour encounter. The star of the show here is our growing girl, Martha. You can see her anterior derms are really taking shape nicely, growing into the characteristic armor of these Ankylosaurs. The goal of this exhibit's look is more of an arid terrain aesthetic, a more barren sort of style, though preventing tropical foliage from sprouting everywhere will be a full-time undertaking, but hopefully Martha and her herd will keep the grass short. I see another Euplocephalus. I hope she's all right. I think she's the one Jerry Harding told me to examine. Just resting. So essentially a raised platform to be seen from the vehicle windows. Separating the animals is, of course, a moat, stretching the length of the exhibit until we reach... a drain. Hopefully no birds can get in that one. I was thinking it would be a water moat, but these critters are good behind a dry moat. Hello, Martha. Can't stop and chat, girl. Yes, it's definitely this one. Jerry Harding has noticed some stunted development with this particular Eupliocephalus. The osteoderms are one of this animal's most remarkable adaptations. Each of these bony plates form within the skin itself, creating a natural suit of armor that protects the neck and back. Notice how they are arranged in overlapping rows, allowing her to move freely while still presenting very little exposed flesh. Now, on this particular Ankylosaur, some of these osteoderms appear smaller than I'd expect for an animal of her age. They're also quite malleable, deforming easily, even through simple respiration. Would serve as quite a useless form of defense if she were a wild animal. It suggests her development has been stunted, and possibly clues us in to possible disorders associated with the skeleton, a type of brittle bone disease. That's one of the unfortunate realities of cloning. The science is still in its infancy. Even when an embryo survives to adulthood, small errors in the reconstructed genetic code can sometimes influence how an animal develops. In modern captive breeding, we occasionally see congenital abnormalities, and genetic engineering introduces another layer of uncertainty entirely. Most of these differences are minor, but every now and then they affect skeletal growth, armor development, or overall body proportions. It's a reminder that bringing an extinct animal back to life is only the beginning. Ensuring it develops normally, that's an entirely different challenge. Oh no. God.